And that's what we're here for. You guys are the content experts, you know what you're doing, and we're just here to say, hey, how can we, is there anything we can help? But we really want to learn along with you all. We're going to toss in a little bit of technology along the way as it just integrates naturally, because we both, Jen and I both firmly believe instruction and content and face-to-face teaching comes first. And so whatever technology can do to enhance that is great, but not lead the way. So, Jen, go ahead.
As I said, my name is Jennifer Smith, and I actually came to work with Greenbush July 1 of this year. Prior to that, I was at a high school in the Kansas City area as an assistant principal responsible for curriculum and instruction. My background is English language arts, and when I was teaching, I also did College Now credit. So I've had the opportunity to sit in with people in your similar situations and have some conversations with them. And I found that when kids leave high school, they don't change a lot before they come to a junior college, and their attitude doesn't change a lot either for some of them. So hopefully together I can share some of the things that I've learned through my experiences working with kids. Right now I have 25 different school districts that I work with, so I get to see a lot of the students that may be coming here to your campus in the near future. And hopefully finding some strategies that you can use that's going to reduce your stress, your frustration that sometimes you get when kids don't quite do what we want them to do, and probably more importantly, what we know they're capable of doing.
Right. So, and I didn't tell my background. I'm educational technology at Greenbush, and my background is from a district up in the Kansas City area as well, assistive technology, heavy, and IT. And then my master's is in educational technology. And I am out in districts all the time as well, throughout the area, working with teachers in the K-12 and doing facilitation and integration with them. So, and we are so excited to work together because it blends in curriculum instruction and then that technology with it. So this is going to be great.
And we'll send this PowerPoint so that if you want it to review or to have access to later, you'll have it. And hopefully today, you'll just grab maybe one or two things that you want to try out that you can take back to your classroom. Some of the things that you're going to hear, you may be like, duh, I already do that. And that's a good thing. I mean, because this is all based on research that McCrell and other people have done of best teaching practices. And honestly, best teaching practices are best teaching practices no matter if you're working at the elementary or high school, college, junior college. So hopefully some ideas that you could take and put in place in your classrooms pretty easily.
Is there a chance, and not to be, just so we kind of know what content everybody's teaching, do you mind sharing that with us just really quickly? Just what you're instructing here at the college?
I teach social science. I teach sociology, social problems,
Okay.
government, geography, criminal law, criminal procedure, ethics.
No, the rest
And
of
these
us do
keeps
anything. You got it all. I teach computer science.
Okay, awesome. Good, thank you.
Political science.
Okay.
Economics, accounting, and business in general.
Okay.
English.
Excellent.
My name's, I'm IT director.
Oh, awesome.
Joel.
What do you do?
I'm Joel, I'm the head of the facilities department.
Excellent, thanks.
English and religion.
Chemistry.
Oh, sounds good. Very good. Very good.
Well, today we're going to get through what we get through. This is going to be very informal. If anytime you have any questions or you're like, okay, I don't see how that would work, or can you give me an example, please ask. Because I honestly believe that I'd rather get through half of what I have planned and for you to leave and have some strategies that you can actually take and use, opposed to just going through everything and you're saying here and leave and you go, wow, that was a waste of my time. Okay, because I know time is what we all would like more of. And I really appreciate you giving us these few hours, so hopefully we can find something that you could take with you.
Right.
So I always like to start off with an agenda, a little welcome. We're going to do a warm-up activity, and then we're going to talk a little bit about objectives and feedback, efforts, and then cooperative learning. And with all of this, we're going to talk about how we can increase our interaction, our communication with our students through using technology. And then we'll talk about what comes next. What do you need? What can we help you with? At the end of this session, hopefully you'll know the strategies and you'll be comfortable taking them and putting them in place in your classroom. You'll have the technology resources, and for many of them, hopefully we'll have you logged in so that you'll have access to them and you can get to them when you want to in your classrooms. And then really looking at how could I use this in my classroom? Because I think that's always a larger question. Sometimes we hear things or we see things on the internet and you're like, oh wow, this person used it. That's a neat idea. But we don't always think about how would that work with my students. So making that transfer of knowledge. So to start off with, we're going to use a tool called Today's Meet.
Right over here. Today's Meet, if you're into, you've heard back channeling and maybe you guys tweet, whatever you may think of either one, it's just getting knowledge back real time. So this is going to be a real-time discussion that we're going to have, and you can use this with your students. It doesn't require any login, no email, nothing at all. We want you first to get to this site if you can, and if you can see from Jen's, it's todaysmeet.com, but you have to put in the instruction 417. We don't want you to go to the website to build a Today's Meet. We want you to get on our Today's Meet. So it's todaysmeet.com, instruction 417. Creativity is my strong point, and so that's I named it instruction 417. You will name your room whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's an hour, a class hour, maybe it's just for the day, because you create these rooms for either an hour up to a year. So you can truncate all the transcript that's going to come with it and print it off. If you would, and you don't have to use your real name once you get into todaysmeet.com, it's todaysmeet.com/instruction 417. When you get into this, it's going to ask what your name is, and you can put your real name or you can put a fake name. Probably in your classroom, you might want them to use their real name, but that's up to you guys. Whatever you want to do, whatever you type in, I just want to give you a heads up, whatever you type in today to this is, you can't delete it. So if one of your students, if you're using it, wants to tell you how they really feel about you, you can't delete that off. That's the one thing you can't do. So I'll go ahead and we'll. Perfect, Morgan. Ooh.
I can name.
It was a race. So the purpose of, while you guys are logging in, as we're using this today, we'll use it back and forth in the next hour that we're here, think about too, if it's a tool you might want to use, how you might be able to use that in your classroom as a discussion board for your students to get feedback, and kind of look at how we're going to use it here in just a minute.
Oh, backslash.
So you can see it's real time.
Oh, I think that's right. Back and forth, instruction.
It's there we go. Perfect. Thank you. This is so easy to create that
417.
when you create it, you're able to name the room whatever you want to name it. Again, no log on, no nothing.
Oh, your iPad's not connected to the internet.
So once you get on to today's meet, what I'd like you to share is a little bit about one of these two questions. How do you learn, or how were you taught when you were in school? Okay, so how do you learn, or how were you taught when you were in school?
And let's hit public. Just hit right here. And it should connect up here. And we had some dye, we can just roll the dice. Okay, go ahead and hit your, it's gonna want your email address, and then just right there, just type in your email address.
My email address?
Uh-huh. Are we good? Anybody having any issues getting on?
Yeah. Oh, still.
This I see you? Okay, all right.
Very small.
It is, isn't it? Oh, it is really small for you.
Well, I didn't know what we're, I thought we were doing stuff, cell phone.
We are gonna do that too. And then,
Yeah, I turned it on.
and then just go to the, I think when you get your name and then hit I agree, so go ahead and type your email address in and then scroll up before you go. You just don't hide that.
I want to make sure I'm- That one's not connected to the internet, so- That's my wife's book review.
My wife's on it.
And then just, yeah, you can just hit that little keyboard and then scroll up and agree. So now you can just get a new tab
You're worried that might be a challenge.
So,
and, good.
Okay.
but I, yeah, got to.
I'll just know when you're ready on
Let me
that.
type my agreement.
You should be able to sit down.
That name.
Oh, yeah, I can see how they can use it.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Regina's.
Instruction for
Sorry, I didn't think about that.
Well, I'm having trouble getting my name, you know that?
Oh, man, no.
It's supposed to just, I think I just.
Not on the left page. Really? No. See, I can't, no, I wasn't here, but I can read that perfect.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder why it's not gonna let us do that.
So now that you've seen our situation at A130, you're gonna make sure that it's not working.
Are you done with the wireless?
It keeps going off, keeps kicking
Oh,
out.
I can put you on the
Morgan
private.
fixes it.
Normally,
Okay, well, it's back on right now, so here, we'll try really quick.
Back on.
It's back on,
Okay.
it's back on, it's back on.
they can access it. Survey was really cool.
It was working good.
I think it's gonna go. Okay, so all you have to do is type your name and hit join.
Okay.
So they can
First
see.
name on it.
Whatever you want to do. In fact, if you don't want to use your name, you don't have to. Well, there's
That would
always
be
another-
one of the questions, can students log in anonymously or?
Absolutely, they can. Well, they have to put a name in. So that would be if you wanted to use this in your classroom to know. I mean, you're obviously gonna know whether they did or didn't, and they can put a name or, you know, they can
Well,
mess
am I
with
answering
you.
a question here?
Uh-huh.
Well,
How do you
how-
learn, or how are you taught in college? One of
So
those
yes,
two.
you're correct.
Well, I'm having trouble with a lot, I see.
They're used to tweeting. This is basically
In college?
Twitter without using Twitter, because you're limited to 140 characters. So it's a little easier than that. It's a little safer, not safer, but it's not as complex, and they can quickly get on it. And if Twitter happens to be blocked for some reason, this usually is not ever blocked.
And what's nice is that they have to have your room number to get into it, so it's not like someone from outside random is probably going to guess what your room name is.
Right.
So it is then only those that you give the room name to.
Will be on, right? I would say that make sure that you make it a unique room name. If you just put like today's date in it, like if it was just 4/17/14, there's a good chance that you will find that, so just make it a little more unique. Okay.
No service happens.
Okay, and as you can see, anyone that's in the room can see the conversations as they get added. It's not just the person that created it. So it's a nice tool that they can also interact. It's not always something that they just respond to one question. You could set it up so they can also respond to other people's comments. But it's a good way to start that communication. Most of our students, when I was walking around earlier, I saw several of them with their phones out. Most of them have a phone that they're gonna be able to get on. So if you don't have an iPad or laptops available in your classroom, most of them are gonna have their phones.
Right.
Or it can even be something that if you have them read something and you wanna see kind of where they are and reflect on it, it could be something that they do outside of your class as well.
Absolutely.
Just today, I had my students draft an evaluation of a product, and it's not the kind of assignment where I let them go outside the classroom for their initial draft. There were some of the sharper ones, they were just, got their cell phones out and
Right.
looking it up and making it more informed, kind of a draft there.
And many of our kids are gonna wanna use their phone probably more than they are gonna wanna use a laptop or an iPad because their phones oftentimes are faster.
And it's their computer.
And it's their computer. I mean, for us, sometimes texting takes a while. I mean, I know in our school, we didn't have phones that were allowed in the classroom. I mean, I was amazed at what they could text within the little pouch of their hoodies.
Yeah.
I mean, without even looking, and you're like, I mean, you know something's up when their hands are, you know, or they're rummaging in their purse for 20 minutes. You're like, what's going on here? But, I mean, this is their walking computer. And if they have them, we can use it as a tool to help get them engaged and
Absolutely.
collaborating with us.
I think part of the piece to remember, and as adults, we may forget, but you may feel be the same way. I'm, in a large group, are you always going to be the first one to, whoop, I know the answer, or you're going to be called upon. This takes on that reluctant responder who doesn't want to maybe shout it out, maybe knows the answer. So you can assess really, and the discussion can be really well that way without having to raise your hand, the old raise your hand. Everybody can get a piece of that action then and maybe respond back and forth and have that conversation going on. So a lot of research has been done with, there's students who get to, to say sometimes what they think because they're embarrassed. They feel, oh, I don't know, I don't look stupid. Even at this level, kids are like that.
For my literature class, I use Blackboard discussion
Sure.
forums.
Perfect.
And it is better as far as getting everybody to pile in with their initial content, having trouble encouraging them to interact
Yes.
with that. They respond to me, but they're not talking to each other all that much. So
You know,
this might be better.
well, but my part on this, I think what Jen and I think on this is whether we tweet or not, whether we're involved in Twitter or not, and that'll be for another discussion, to talk Twitter talk, that is how they talk. They talk in 140 characters. So to have a big, long discussion, this is how they talk, and so this is very common to them, and it's more what they're, it's their deal.
And when it comes to timing out, when you set the room up, dictate how long the room is
Right.
open for. You can have it open for an hour, you can open it for a day, you can have it open for a year. So that's for the person that creates the room, for them to decide how long that's open for people to access.
This is, and I'm sorry, we're going to take some time on this, just a second. This is what it looks like when you get ready to create it. This is just todaysmeet.com. So this is where you name your room. So I might name my room 417 14, and it's going to tell me if it's available. See, that's very common. So we're going to make the room Jen. Nope, they've got Jen. Let's make it, okay. So nobody can use for FSCC. I'm just going to make it for a short period of time. 1 hour through 1 year. So it's there. It's going to be, you pick what you want. I probably would never do it for a year. I'd be hesitant. This one that we're doing is for a week, so I can get that transcript. Just because, everybody can be ornery and post things, and and you cannot delete. So you get something really ugly going on here, you would need to contact via email. They respond. I hate to say I've experienced that. They respond really quick, and they'll get the whole post down. So I wouldn't make it for probably more than a week starting out, or a few hours. But let's just say we make it for 1 hour. And boom, I've created the room. That's it. That's all it did to create, and you put your name in it.
So you create it for, say, an hour or 1 week. After that hour or week, is that room still accessible to go back and read those comments, or do the comments on the page actually just disappear?
They will take it down eventually. The company will. They will truncate it for a little bit of time. Your best bet is to get to come down and get the transcript of it. You can actually get the transcript of it, you can print it out, you can save that transcript so you can actually have that discussion. we've done some facilitation where maybe the teachers didn't want their admin to know the discussion. The admin was great on that, you know, just, we'll read it, but we're not gonna be in the room so people can talk more freely. And then we, you know, they got the transcript of that, and everybody was good, so they didn't have to go back and look at it. So, yes and no, it will stay on for a little bit after that time period, but not for long. I wouldn't count on that. That's why I get the transcript.
So you're saying if somebody starts saying vulgar things, you can't stop it, you just have to
Nope.
turn it off?
No, well, you have to email. You have to email and contact them. And you know what? If it's
It's gonna be someone in your class, I mean.
it's going to be someone in your class, and if it's a cursing word, they probably won't take it down for that. If it's threatening, it goes with all the rules, the terms of policy, as most any social media would be. So if it's vulgar, threatening, you know, vulgar as in threatening, and racial slurs, that type of stuff, they'll take
So
it
as
down.
the creator, can you go back in and change the timing?
Nope. No, that's why I said up front, if you're going to test it with your students, I'd test it for an hour. I'd test it for that hour, because you can name. I just would, just to see.
Just like anytime you
Yeah.
use social media,
Yeah.
you do have to set those expectations for our students, because you're gonna always have someone that's gonna try it. I mean, I've used this in PD that I've done for teachers before, and I've even had a teacher that's, you know, well, let me see what I could post up there, and it's like, what you post is posted. It's
It is.
there. I mean, it doesn't filter it at all. And they didn't put anything vulgar, but it was something like, oh, I don't want everybody to see that.
Yeah,
So,
something kooky. And, but,
yeah.
you know, what you're also able to do is you're able to post, again, it's got to be within that 140 characters, you're able to post a link, like if you wanted them to go to a web link, you could copy and paste it as part of your post, and then they could go right to that link from there. Rule of thumb, I would think, Jen, too, wouldn't you, of, you know how many kids are in your class, students you have in your class? Okay, 10 students, I should have 10 names, I should have all the names, and if you don't, then you can instantly say, okay, we're done with that. I mean, I really would hope that that wouldn't happen.
So when you do that, it would be easy then just to tell the students, when you log in, if you want anonymity, just use the last 4 digits of your student ID.
Absolutely,
Every- and then-
absolutely.
Things
yes,
start popping up, as an
Yes.
instructor, you can
You can
then
control.
pick out who's who,
yes.
but nobody in class knows who's
Exactly.
saying what.
That's exactly
That's
right.
a great idea.
Great
And
idea.
the student won't know that they could use any other login, they would just assume that it's
Right.
the last 4 that is required to log
Right.
in.
Now, word of thought, could your students go and create one of these? Anybody can create one of these, okay? You saw how easy it was, all right? Just so they know, and elementary, middle school, maybe even high school, kids would think, get by with something. I'm just thinking not so much, because whatever the students on this campus are doing, they can do on Facebook or Twitter, or, you know, it's not that much of a
And
knowledge.
I used this with my high school students, and I never had any problem. I just had to lay the ground rules.
Absolutely.
You know,
talk it
it's
up.
there, I had them use their names, I set up criteria. You know, I expect you, within this week, I want you to have 2 original posts, and you need to respond to 2 other people's posts. And they'd have their name, I'd go print the transcript then, and then I could then give them their credit for making their 2 original posts and then commenting on 2 posts. And I just set those expectations from day one. Here it is, you have this week to do it, 2 original thoughts, and then reflecting or responding to 2 other people's.
Great idea.
And oftentimes they would well exceed that, because they feel comfortable on the media communicating. It allows them to be, you know,
Absolutely.
in their element a little bit more.
See, that's the other good thing about electronic discussion, is that it's easier to evaluate and score and create a grade for it than,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm there trying to manage the discussion, and I've done this, and, you know, when I show up to class and I haven't read the assignment, I'll try to dig a foxhole. And they all do it to me too. But if they all know that I have everything that they've said or not said accessible to me, then I can score it, and they can't dispute that.
Right. I mean, they can't come back and say, why did I only get 10 out of 20 possible discussion
Why did
points?
you only come out with only
Yeah.
2 comments?
Right.
Right.
Perfect. Great ideas. Great ideas. Great discussion.
Well, looking at how many of you have commented, you know, a lot of you said a lot of your classes were lecture. Many of you said you're a hands-on, interactive, kinesthetic learner. And what's very different is, for many of us, the way our students learn today and how they'd like to be taught is very different from how we were taught to teach, how we learned ourselves when we were in school. So I wanted to take a minute, and this is a video, and you may have already had the opportunity to see this. This is a video that K-State anthropology class put together.
Who did that?
I use this a lot.
I think it's KU, I think KU collaborated with K-State.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Education.
If I can get it. Why not? Oh, let's try this. You gonna work for me? There you go, buddy. Ready, set, go. And you've got to love technology, especially when it works just the way we want it to. There we go. It's going. I just have to be patient. As you're watching this, if there's anything aha that jumps out at you, just kind of make note of that. If you want to put it in today's meet, go for it. But we'll talk about some things that grab your attention after it gets done.
Scrub Saw, isn't it?
Old Carney Auditorium.
favorite videos as well, and I did have the opportunity this year to hear Michael speak. He is a great speaker. He does a lot of interesting things in his classroom. He truly wants students to experience the concepts, the ideas that he is teaching about. So it is very hands-on, very interactive class. They did another project in 2011, and that's what the vision of students.org. If you go to that website, and this is the cover page of it, they had so many videos that they basically took them and put them together kind of as a highlight, and then if you go to the page, you can click on all the different videos that the students created. And all he did is simply started off with asking for students to submit what their lives were like today. And he said, you know, you can use a flip camera, you can use your cell phone, and then he puts on his little headgear camera, he said, or one of these, and you can walk around, because I want to see what you see. I want to see what you think of the world around you. Because he honestly believes if we're going to get our students prepared for life beyond school, you know, to be the leaders that are going to be making the decisions as we get older, he wanted to make sure they're prepared to do that. So he wanted to see their perspectives. So he knew where to go with what his students knew. Now, some of you have made comments on this. You know, when it came to technology, can it save us or has it destroyed us? And that's a great question. That is a great question. You know, when you think about how much time some people spend on, you know, their computers, and I'm an NPR geek, and I listen to that everywhere I'm going. I'm glad it's on in the morning and afternoon, because that's when I'm traveling. And you know, they had a big story on the other day about cell phone etiquette, and they were interviewing waitresses and waiters, and about how frustrated they get when people come into a restaurant and they'll order food and they'll never look at them, they'll never make eye contact, or people be sitting there, two people, you know, and they're like, they don't have rings on, so they must not be married, but it's a male and a female, and they're each on their phones doing different things, and they never interact the whole time. So that's a great question. And I would make the argument, anytime you're dealing with technology, it's teaching what's appropriate. You know, those social guidelines. I mean, a lot of people, and I had this conversation with my mom. I'm like, Mom, don't caps. All caps is yelling at me. And she's like, well, I didn't know that. I just wanted you to know it was important. I said, well, I got it, you know. But not, I mean, even our kids, they don't understand some of the guidelines. And they sometimes operate under different guidelines than we do. You know, for us, it's not appropriate to sit there and be on Facebook during class. For the kids, well, I know this information. I don't need to pay attention. So sometimes it is setting those parameters, those guidelines. If we're going to use it, we're going to use it appropriately. And that's what it looks like in this class. But that is a great question.
It is.
You know, and it could really it could destroy us if we don't teach some of those etiquette and social media guidelines.
I think the one thing, and I know this is for another day discussion, there's massive amounts of information. If we go back 25 years ago, before the internet really took off, and you know, so much is talked now about everything's going on in the world, it's bad, it's wrong, you know, we can talk about the government, we can talk about so many different things, but it's really hard to think, if we go back 25 years ago, we wouldn't have had all the information we have now. It's 24/7, it's in our hip pockets, we can't get away from it. And one of the disservices I think we do for our students from K up through till they're gone as adults here is we are running short on information literacy. The information's there, but we can't process it. It comes at us so fast and so quick, and we don't sit and talk to our kids, our students, our personal kids, our students about information literacy and what's real and what's true. And because it's on the internet, it must be true. And it's on the internet, everybody must own it. So there's a massive amount, and if we go back 25 years ago, it could be the same as it is now, but we have a whole lot more information coming to us, and we know everything. We know everything, and lots of it's not true. So I'm big into information literacy because of that. We need to spend some time. We're going to talk about some 21st century skills, and Jen and I talked about this again today. If you look at what 21st century skills are for what employers are looking at, and what we look at as educators, it's very little technology. except for the information literacy piece. And that's the one thing we're falling short on, is how do you process that information that you get? How do you search effectively? How do you know what you know? So that's my little soapbox still. Go ahead.
Okay, and when you look at the media and the students on here, the hours that they spent on Facebook and on their phones, how does that compare to the time that we spend on Facebook and our phones? Is it comparable?
A lot of social media, Facebook, or do we have Facebook folks in here? Okay, good. Tweeters? Google Plus, anybody's doing Google Plus? Okay. Okay, all right, okay. I hear you.
And sometimes, it's the change, it seems to be beyond our control. I will be honest with you, before I started in this position and I'm on the road almost every single day, I could just leave my phone at home and I would be good. Now, if I don't have my phone, I'm in panic mode. I don't know where I should be. I don't know, the people that have emailed me. I don't know how many phone calls I've missed, and it is a little bit of a panic. I used to laugh because we would allow our students to have their cell phones in the hallway during passive period and during lunch. They had them out during class. If it wasn't an instructional activity, they would get them taken away, and they couldn't get it back till they served a detention. Because they took our time to take it, we were going to take some of theirs. And there were some that you thought you had cut off their arm. I can't leave, I've got to have my phone. Well, serve your 15 minutes. I can't, I've got to go to work. Can I call my boss? They're in panic mode because, it's like they had lost something. And I really do think it depends on, that situation and how much we allow it to kind of control us. Because I am guilty, because sometimes I was trying to answer an email the other night and the waitress came up to the table and I was telling her what I wanted, and I put my phone down and I said, I am so sorry, that was so rude. I go, this is what I would like. She's like, oh, I'm used to it.
That's so sad.
So,
The two people at the restaurant that were texting, they were probably talking to each other.
oh, they probably
They
were.
were lost in
Yeah.
a face-to-face conversation.
That's right.
And there was a story not too long ago on the news about how if you're starting in a new relationship, you probably shouldn't text because you may lead on more than what you really mean, because people see that veil. I don't have that face-to-face, and that you may not be really entering into the relationship that you think you are. What would be the odds of hearing that story, even 5 years ago?
Absolutely.
So, it is very interesting.
It is.
Yeah, the other night, my wife and I were at a Mexican restaurant here in town, and probably not as far as I am from Regina, there's a guy sitting at a table for two, and he had ordered, and he put his phone up across the table, and he had an earpiece in, and he sat there and had a conversation like it was another person, like face chat.
Oh, he did
FaceTime
FaceTime or something, or
FaceTime or
Skype.
something like
Maybe he
that.
was eating supper with his wife.
And he was sitting there saying, he's like, I've never been to this part of Kansas before, and he's like, the weather's kind of cold out, and he's sitting there having a conversation, very, audibly. It was easy to hear everything he was saying, like he was having a normal conversation. My wife and I sat there and looked at each other, like, who's talking to? And I noticed he's got a little phone sitting over there,
Yeah.
and he's just sitting there talking.
But it is kind of cool as well, because I have,
That was weird.
we went to Washington
As
DC
if
for a
on cue.
conference last summer,
As
and
if
I've
on
never
cue.
been, and I have a niece and nephew that are in 1st and 4th grade, and my nephew is very big into history. And so we are going to all the monuments, so I have my FaceTime and I'm showing him all of, and he's asking me questions. Well, when was that built? Who is that? It was a great opportunity for him to see something and for me to interact with him that he may not have for a long time. So
There are
it's kind of
pluses,
fun.
you're right, there are some
Ladies.
pluses to it, but I totally understand what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think that may be an age thing with me, but I totally get that because we didn't have.
But I did feel very bad because there were other people around me that were very quiet. So I've tried to get to the side so I'm not interrupting anybody's face-to-face conversations. So, but there is a little bit of a gap between how we learn, how we currently learn, and how our students learn. And hopefully today we can look at some strategies and some ways to help bridge that gap, so that we're still teaching what we love to teach and what our students need to know, but we're getting them to learn it. And that's the key thing. We're getting them to interact with it, learn it, and understand it. because all too often, and I was very guilty of this, we'll create a test, they can spit the information out on that test, but if we have an end of term exam, they have no idea what they knew, midway through. So how can we get them so they actually really understand the information and retain it? And one tool that we learned about that you currently have, and I don't know how many of you actually use it, is NBC Learn.
Any of y'all created accounts and have used it?
I've created the account, but I don't have any luck at trying to use it. I was gonna use it in my online Blackboard class, and I've never really been able to get it to import them in there.
To import them in?
Yeah.
And that is right on Blackboard, isn't it, or?
It's on our website. When you pull up the Blackboard, it says NBC Learn, and I went in and taken movies and put them into my list.
Uh-huh.
But then when I try to get it to where I can put the tab into the Blackboard site so that
It doesn't
students can
work.
use it, I haven't been able to get it.
Can you use that outside of, does it play well outside of, if you're just onto the
If I'm
site?
just in NBC Learn, I can bring it up.
Okay, that's something we could look, we could, we need to do that. Okay, so how many of y'all have just one, have used it? Anybody have used it?
I've played around with it a little bit, but I haven't used it much.
Just time, do you think it's a time piece of just trying to find it or something?
The time it takes to search and find something usable for your class.
Sure.
And then
Sure, absolutely.
set it up.
I understand.
There's so many videos on things like with the class that I have that you can find on BBC or
Yes,
CNN or
Mhm.
somewhere else.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
60 Minutes, I mean, there's so many out there that you can just use.
But the great thing, it sounds like you guys are using media, right? You're using some visual literacy and some visual media. And I think we would say, or I would say, whatever you can use, it doesn't matter if it's this, or if it's PBS, or if it's something else, you can use, and whatever you can use. I know with NBC Learn, some of the PBS you can't download, it won't let you download, so you are reliant upon your internet being tough and strong and what have you. On this, you can download directly to your hard drive. Your students can also have accounts on this, and this is not a sales piece, it's just because the college has it. Your students could create accounts as well. So if you want to kind of give that little flip class deal, assign a video to them to watch, that would be a way you could do it as well. We're going to look at, have you all, I don't know if you all have seen, and you may have, the political ad. I know we have a lot of social science folks in here. So if you'll take just a second, let's see if we can get this one to play.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9,
These are the stakes to make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
And those of you that may not have used it, you can flip the card over and get all the information that you want from the back, citation information that students might need. I don't know that we'll go over every little piece of it since you all are familiar with it. I think what is nice with NBC, whether it's NBC Learn or whatever it is, that you can build that video, and it doesn't even have to be in your content area, but if you start and you hook them the first 5 minutes of class with something that's engaging like that, that can build on whether it's math, whether it's English language arts, whether it's poli-sci, whatever it is, sociology, English, chemistry, you can build on this. Please know that NBC Learn also, if you're looking through, a couple of things to know before we leave this site is they have built some of their own content. They are heavy in the sciences, really heavy in the sciences that they have built. So they're not newscasts. They're their own that they've built. They've brought in, their NBC, so they can bring in the professional athletes and professional actors to do. So please look for those along the side. You should be able to find their own content. And know this as well, that if you have your curriculum map, maybe you have it for, maybe not a whole semester, but if you have it for the first few months, NBC is really good at saying, give us your curriculum map, what you're going to be doing, and let us help map it with our video. And they're not just saying that to sell it. That's not what they're doing. They're actually doing it and they're doing probably more for higher ed than they are K-12, which would be a great help. I would think that, okay, I'm going to send you the first, few weeks, and you show and tell me what would fit into that. And so that might save you some time.
Does a lot of the work for you.
It does. We don't want to take any more time on that, if that's okay, because I know I said okay with you. Any questions on this? And I can get back with you and see why you're having problems. I would say this on NBC Learn more than anything else, that I've been with different vendors through my many years in education. They have the best customer service ever. So you have a problem, and they will get back with you within that day. So they're updating their content all the time, and their customer service and their technical support is really good. I wouldn't hesitate at all, and they'll get right back to you.
Like I say, it's probably been over a year since I tried it, and I would be the first to admit that it could be easily a Deborah problem, but I did have someone from our IT department try to do it for me as well, and
Sure.
they couldn't get it done either.
And I would say over a year, it's just like anything else. They've improved on there, and they've added a lot more to connect to the different, Edmodo, the different learning management systems. But I would email them with a flash, just a quick, and they will get back to you, I promise that. Did somebody else have a question?
Oh, well, I was just looking to see where you submit that. Is that through like the
Down at the-
contact us,
Uh-huh.
the email password, contact
Yep.
us? Okay, need
And-
assistance, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So if, I showed them maybe the topics, the type of writing we're doing,
Uh-huh.
they could plug that in and.
Just, you can even say, Greenbush was here, and they said that you would help us with this, and that's fine. And if you don't get response back, please let one of us know for sure on that, absolutely. I have been in a classroom, this was a K-12 classroom, it was actually a high school classroom, where I suggested the teacher do that. In fact, I suggest, and they suggest strongly, if there's something on here, particularly maybe any content area, but if you can remember back, gosh, I can remember this being on the news, I wonder if they have anything about this. If you email them and say, hey, this is what I want, I remember a clip, would you have that? They're very anxious to create things for you. Now, it's not going to be overnight, but they listen really well. That's the one thing I really like, probably over some of the others, is what they will do. But I was in a classroom, she was having some problems connecting up. She emailed really quick, the kids were all around, they were going crazy, and she got the call on her cell. She had submitted her cell phone, and so the kids were all, she goes, oh, it's NBC, it's NBC.
Wow.
And they got back really quick with her, and so she was able to go, and it was a good experience. But please let us know if you don't experience the same thing. Good.
And what's really nice though is it may not have everything that you find when you just go out and do a search, but they do break it down in pretty detail by the different.
The original NBC collection is what I was talking, Jen, and that's what they created. I'm sorry, go ahead. You can see.
Here's all the science, different things.
Right. And if we click on one of these, again, I didn't want to take too much time. They're usually, on some of them, they'll actually have an activity for you to use in the classroom, how to use it.
It's one of the most recognizable designs in all of sports.
It's a small sphere. It's about 1.68 inches or larger, and it has a lot of valleys or dimples in the surface.
What makes the golf ball so unique is not just its small shape, but hundreds of small impressions or dips on its surface. Steve Quintavala is an engineer in the Equipment Standards Department at the United States Golf Association. He says dimples are crucial to a golf ball's flight.
A golf ball has dimples to reduce wind resistance or aerodynamic drag. When you reduce it, you make golf balls go a lot farther.
Early golfers using smooth golf balls realized that the more they used a ball, the farther it would go.
The reason for that they quickly discovered was that the surface gets scuffed and knocked about. They started figuring out, hey, we're going to put round impressions, round dimples in.
As a golf ball flies through the airflow interacts with the surface of the ball and can greatly affect the amount of drag.
The wind is meeting the surface here and pushing against it, and then wrapping around.
If the golf ball were smooth, the air flowing closest to the surface of the ball would follow the flow of air around it, creating a detached airflow behind the ball.
As air flows around the smooth golf ball, it becomes detached. The air that's closest to the surface doesn't want to stick to the surface, it wants to stick to the fast.
And they do try to keep most of their videos to under 5 minutes. So most of them are like 4 to 5 minutes long, just because they know you don't have a lot of time, so they try to make them so that they have the information you need, but it won't take a lot of time. But if it isn't something that you've been in, I would encourage you to maybe check it out. There are lots of different videos, different content. There are pictures.
Right, there's still shots that they have. I would also say they update 24/7. The only time they don't update their content is on Saturday, Sunday. So if there's an event that happened, it'll be on here. So. Do you guys all, if you don't have the password to create an account, we have that information as well. That is your code down at the bottom, the VDU, VYU is your code to create an account. And there's the website if you'd like.
So we've spent a lot of time already kind of setting up and giving you a taste of what we want to do today. I think it's very important anytime you set objectives that we give our students the opportunity to personalize those objectives. Because I want you to write an essay, but if you notice on the video, a lot of the students said what they do, they don't see how it connects to them. If we can allow them to think about what our expectations are and to personalize it, they're going to have something invested in it. And the results are going to be much better. So I'd encourage you to ask your students to do some personalizing of the objectives. Or if you're giving a project, give them time to think about, well, how am I going to do this project? What does it look like? How am I going to drive this ship to the end? And that way they're going to have greater success getting to the end. Another tool that you can use
is Poll Everywhere. Has anybody used Poll Everywhere for either a few assessments? You know, you could do a really quick assessment. We're going to play with that just for a second if you haven't used it. And it's Poll Everywhere all smushed together.com. And we've already created one. If I can see what, here we go, I think that's the one. What's kind of great about Poll Everywhere, they have increased because competition, creates better free websites. You are limited to 40 responses. This would be where you let the students pull out their phone and say, you gotta bring your phone to class because we're using it tomorrow, so make sure you bring it. That's how you're gonna take your test, or that's how you're gonna be assessed, or what have you. So make sure they have their phone with them, or a device. If they don't have either and they bring a laptop, they can do it via their laptop. It doesn't have to be on the phone. So we're not going to go into the part of how you create this, but again, it is free up to 40. But what we want you to do is to answer the question, what are your goals for this workshop? You can see that I've typed it here, and what you're going to do with your phone or your tablet is you're going to go to a text message, so that's going to actually be, and I'm not talking down to anybody, I'm just trying to explain. Text message, that's going to be the number. That's going to be like the person that you're talking to is the 22333. So on your phone, that's going to be your person you're sending it to. And then your text message, down in the text message part, put that 336417 first in the text message. And then type your response, make it quick and short, or long, however you want. And then we're gonna see what's gonna be happening here. Oh my gosh, we have an overachiever. Somebody has already put something up, is that right? I like that, less than a minute ago.
What, no, we're just putting the other number in.
You
In
put
the body of the text.
In the body of the text, put it in the first, start it out with the 336417, and then you can just type your response right up next to it.
What'd you say?
Then just start writing after that.
Yes, just start typing.
Who you would send it to? So you
Okay,
just
so
need
you
a
don't go
blank
to
text.
pull everywhere.
No,
No, the
just a
question
little blank
is,
text message.
what are your goals for this workshop? What was your goal for
I don't do these
for coming today?
things. I'm not-
I understand that. No, you're good. Your text.
I sent
Yep.
those from there.
Yep,
but I-
perfect. No, you're good. And just get a new
What
box.
is this, right?
That new box right there. And in that box, you're gonna type the 22.
You can
Yeah,
see
come
I
on
don't
here.
do anything with the phone, but.
Oh, I see.
It's,
Took away the
you
number
need to
for
have
me.
the 336417.
You know, because it's so damn smart.
It's sticking up where you
Yeah.
start. I love that autocorrect.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting it's there, you know.
Larry's done that fine.
And now just type your response of what are your goals for this workshop? And then you said you're good. Seven.
And do you want a space or just?
No, you can space and then just type, just like that's your first word.
So we can kind of see how that's coming up real time as well. Those of you that have used Poll Everywhere, you know that you can use it for multiple choice questions, true false questions. This one just happens to be Post-it notes that are coming up. If you can see, I'd like to learn new interactive classroom technology, new strategies to increase 21st century learning skills. Need help with tech to participate. Oh, I love that. So that's that interactive piece of getting to know your students more. And again, it's that other piece, and this is really anonymous because their name's not going to be on here, that they might say exactly what they think. And you know what? That's okay. It really is okay because that's...
Once again, when I was in the classroom, I always use it more for like quizzes. You could set up your quiz questions and have, is it A, B, C, or D? So a quick read to see, maybe as an exit slip, where are they, what do they know? Or at the beginning of class to see what they remember from the last class. It's a great way just to see where they are with the concept that you just taught. So you could set up quick questions, what are your, a question over the content, and then you can either have them type in a short response, or you could give them options if you want to, narrow it for them. So you can set it up just like a quiz that you would do in your classroom. And it gives them immediate feedback. It doesn't, you don't have to grade it. You could see that 70% of my students didn't get this question right if I do multiple choice. It's right there, I know, okay, well, I probably need to go over it a little bit more this class.
And
Or-
it's a great check for understanding, and sometimes we need that as much as the kids. Maybe I need to spend a little more time teaching that concept. Maybe that's what it tells us.
But several different things we can use this for. And it's free.
It's
And
free
that's
up
what's
to
nice.
40, so if you have a class of over 40, thanks.
I can pick up the little boy.
No, you're good. Thanks for being here.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah. 40 or under responses, free. So create 2. If you have more than 40, create 2 different ones.
And that's what I did. I set one up for each of my classes.
And when you create this, and it's an easy create, polleverywhere.com, you create an account, and my account is always going to be you get your number, that 22333. I've had that for years. So you'll get one number, and that'll always be the number that you're having.
We always use that free.
That's what I will always use. That's what I will use. So my students would always use that. You're going to get another number assigned to you, probably.
Now, would each question that you pose have a different first number?
Yep, you do.
And usually it goes in sequential order.
It does.
So it'd be like 336417 for this one, 336418 for the next one.
Right.
So it isn't like something completely random for each question.
And students that have something besides a cell phone, if they have a tablet or something and they don't have a cell phone, they can do it on that as well, and it'll have instructions for them. So you can clear results, you can collect You can collect some data on it.
But when you do the quizzes, it will give you nice charts, and that's where you can see, you can download those charts.
So you can kind of see, you can, particularly on the more multiple choice and stuff, you can see, but you can get some information. You can download it as spreadsheets, you can do all sorts.
And once again, it allows for students, to actually share their thoughts and what they think is the right answer, and no one's gonna know that I wasn't correct in that, except for myself. So it's probably not a tool that you're gonna wanna use to assign a grade if they understand it or not, but it's a great way to check for understanding. I mean, even to give students an idea of what they maybe need to study for the test. If you do kind of a review with this and they see, man, I'm really bombing here, they're gonna know, okay, I better spend some time here.
So those kids that are weak and struggling, that we'd be reminded that they are, because they know they are. So it gets away a little, not that it's always bad, it gets away from the raising the hand and getting the same 3 people, because don't we all have that answer the same question?
Yeah. And you can't get them to stop. You can't get them to stop.
Yeah.
So, and I've had students before that, someone forgot their phone, and maybe I'll then have everybody partner up, and we'll do something to partner.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't have a phone, or, their parents cut the text messages because they were so far over their limit, I've had people partner up before, so.
Right, absolutely. Good, could you guys, those of you that have been using it, how have you used it in your class?
Oh,
Anybody?
Larry used it.
I just used it a couple of times, just to show them the technology that these computer science
Right.
stuff.
Sure.
I always used it as a starter for the homework assignment, the reading that they were supposed to have read. So I'd pick out a random question from the chapter or something that was very relevant that they needed to know.
Right.
And so then I would pose a question to see basically how many of them read it or how many of them had got or missed the topic. And then we could either reteach or go on.
Exactly.
So
I actually used, it wasn't Poll Everywhere, it was Edmodo.
Mhm.
I used our survey. And what we do in our writing classes, we do peer review days, and we figure out what type of peer responses help students the best for that specific group of writers. I had them go back through their peer edits of the previous papers and choose the ones that helped the most. And then I made a survey, and then I had them respond. They could either use a computer they were at, or their cell phone or whatever. And it was pretty cool.
It is cool.
So that gave them feedback. The only bad thing was the students couldn't see on their own screen the question and the response. They could just see the % response. And we're going to get a smart board in that. I was using a projector, but it's the way the classroom is set up. It would be really hard for all the students to see that master screen. So I just have to make sure whatever I do, they can see on their own individual screens. But it was cool.
Edmodo is a really great tool.
It's got lots
It
of-
is.
lots of
It has a
information.
lot of great features. We can look at that before,
That's
not today, but yeah, it's a great tool.
It is very easy to use, and it's something quick, and our students, once again, it's something they're very comfortable with, and it'll get more of them involved and participating.
You can pre-make the polls however you want, really quick. They are really quick to create, and then you've got them and reuse them over and over. You could clear, like if I wanted to use that for next semester, I just hit clear results right here. All your results would be gone, and then I have it still set for, I don't have to recreate over and over and over again.
It's cool.
It is a little chilly. when it
Layers,
comes on.
I've learned that.
What do you think,
already.
we got to make this.
Kathy's an ice cube factory.
I knew there was a reason he could go.
I was going to touch it, but I'm not going to.
Something to think about, and we've already touched on this today. Anytime we're using technology, we need to work together. There are going to be times where we may need to call and get some IT assistance. There may be times that, we get stuck and we don't remember how to use it, and that's okay. We need to all work together. We also talked about how when we're using technology, we need to work with our students as well. We can't expect them to understand, how to use it. You may think they're younger, they use their phones all the time, they can go to this and they'll have no problems. You're going to have some students that still are going to need to kind of be walked through step by step. You'll have others, before you even stop explaining it, they've already posted 3 or 4 different things. Okay, so it's just like anything. We've got to all work together. so that we are using it the way we want to, and so that it's really benefiting what we're doing in our classroom. We never just want to throw something up just to throw it up.
Right.
We want it to be something that's going to increase the learning.
Absolutely.
And part of that also is having that relationship with your students. So you know that they're not going to post something inappropriate on your Today's Meet and you're frantically turning the projector off. So one way you can do this.
Oh, absolutely. Remind 101. How many of y'all are using Remind 101? Okay, we're gonna look at Remind 101. Now here's the deal with Remind 101. You're gonna start having, you could create a group for however many different classes you have. You could create a group for each one, like each class group. You're gonna start communicating with them via text. Scare you? I don't want them texting me at night. I don't want to get those data charges. I don't want to get text charges. They're never going to have your number. And better yet, you're never going to have their number. You're never going to exchange numbers. You could schedule to remind out that personal little relationship building right at once, first day of class. Hey, it was great to have y'all in class. I'll see you tomorrow. This is the assignment. Or maybe that test that's coming up. Oh, you know, got test tomorrow. Do we need to enable them? No, but that's their life. They're not gonna look at an email. They're just not. They're not gonna look at an email. They will certainly get a text because as soon as it goes off, it could be one of their friends and they get to look at it. It's gonna be you, and they'll still look at it. So let's look at that. You're gonna join my group, our group. We've created a group so you can kind of walk through the process and see how simple this is. Again, this is a free tool. It's Remind 101 that was created by students right out of high school, or could be at Fort Scott Community College right here today. They're young kids. They've gone from just a minimal text to send to groups to now they've narrowed it down where you could take that group of 20 students and maybe just send to 3. And just week before last, they've added yet another feature that's an attachment feature. So you've had class, I forgot to give them that paper, I forgot to give it out. You can attach it now to this system, shoot it out via text, one button, and they will have that attachment if you had an attachment or something to give them. Okay, are we ready? This one's fun. I think it's a great time. So it's Remind 101. Let me get to it, because all my tabs.
Tracy shared this one with me, and Stacy in the library found that we had lots and lots of books out from years past and from last semester that nobody had addressed. So we used this and she started getting books back.
Because you can't hide from the text.
So how did you get people to get into the group?
Here we go. You're going to join one right now. You're going to join my group. Now, here's my promise and Jen's promise to you. Well, it's
What am I
Jen's promise.
promising?
I might not be promising it. I promise that I will not be texting you after today.
Oh, I promise.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure I will. I won't. Believe me, I won't. So,
I like the attention.
okay, well, yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna, and again, let's not get into how, let's just have you join right now and we can get back to the how later. This is so simple. It's remind101.com, and when you join, it's free, and all you're gonna do is add a new class. When you click on add a new class, it's gonna want you to name that class. I named the class FSCC, again, that's my creativity just bounding out at you, what we're gonna do. I also,
Web address here now.
and yes.
Web address, what is it?
Remind101.com. But you're not gonna do that right, I mean, you can do that now, but on your phone is what we're gonna deal with right now.
Okay.
I also created my code that made sense to me. Greyhounds, it was taken. So we're G-hounds. That's our code, is G-hounds, okay? So what you need to do in your phone right now to join my group, and you need to, thank you for coming, what you need to do now is get on your phone to join the group, and this is what you do with your students. They are going to see the number that's assigned to me again. This is going to be the same number always for me. So when you create your account, you're going to get a number assigned to you. So that's going to be the number that you're going to text to. So up in the number, you're going to go 646-480-7292. And down in the message part, do the @Ghounds. @Ghounds. And hit send. hit send, and you're going, you can start looking at subscribers and your name will pop up. Again, I will not get your number and you will not see my number.
So the number that you're texting to is 646-480-7292. And then you're going to start in your message area with @ghounds.
And just hit send.
And then hit send.
What is nice about this, if you needed instructions, maybe you forgot or what have you, if you hit invite, they will definitely pop that up to you. You can show that to your students and they make it really clear. This is the number you're going to text, you're going to send the message, and then you're going to hit send. And let's see if we're getting, okay. I'm trying to see, I'm going to refresh and see if they're going to. Here we go. You should be getting a message back.
How do mine already know me because I have an account?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
probably. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go to my FS. And so we're getting some folks in. Now, it's going to go off your phone name, okay? So if you see your name, so you would be able to figure out really quick, are all my students in if they have and again, if they do not have a phone, not to eliminate students that don't have a phone, they can do it via another type of technology, a tablet or a laptop. They can do that.
And the instructions to do that were also in the invite
Absolutely.
students and parents.
Up at the top, absolutely, right here. We'll give a couple more minutes so you can see how you're getting added right here. And you should be getting a message. You should be getting a message, right? Are you getting a little message back?
To send you our names. It said to send you our name.
Right, right, and there we go.
646-480-7292.
And then just in the body put @G.
Just G-Hounds.
But we would
So every
have
time
go
we
in
want to
and
send
set
something,
up-
we always write that?
Nope, no, and I'm gonna send you a message here in just a second, and you're gonna see it'll make more sense.
But we would have to go in and set up our own account.
You would set up the original account and like your different classes,
But
but
at G-Hounds, send that.
how to get your students to join, do it during class, don't, yeah, so you never know their number or anything. But do it during class, and then you have your roster, boom, made right there, okay? And let's say you have a student that comes in later or what have you,
Yeah, you're
they
on
you
there.
get that same information, the class code and that number's the same. Okay, are we about there,
Do
Jen?
you want help from us now, or do we have to, want to ask you something to get that?
We're pretty close. Oh, yep. Is everybody in that wants to get in? I was gonna go ahead and send a quick, okay, absolutely. It is @Ghounds. And it'll tell you if it's not available. Greyhounds was already taken, FSCC, so somebody, maybe that was Regina.
Are you just, you're on the computer?
I was.
Okay, so if you set it up and you send it to her number, which was.
Yeah, I was going to the website to join.
464.
Can't do it that way?
You can.
Uh-huh,
That's
you
how I was doing
can.
it. They were supposed to send me a text with the class code.
It takes, if you did it through the website, it takes just a titch longer. It's not as instantaneous. Did I not mention that titch longer? A titch longer. Just a titch longer. Can we go ahead and I'm going to send you all a message, so you will be guaranteed that I can add, maybe I wanted to take the PSU class group there or some of my others, I could add those, but I just want it to go to you all. And I'm going to say that dinner is on Regina.
Yeah.
Right?
How about cookies are on Regina
Tonight, cookies. Okay. Well, we'll go dinner.
I'm sure we will.
The new feature, just so you'll know, the new feature would be the attachment button right here. This is where you would put your attachment. Guys, that's a PowerPoint, that's a Word document, so you can put your attachment on there.
Edits.
If, for those of you that want to schedule ahead, because I have 5 minutes and I can schedule the next 6 messages I want to go to my students, maybe from now till the end of the semester. You know what you've got, you can reschedule them by hitting here, and you can schedule when you want them to go out, so it doesn't have to be right then, you can schedule them ahead. But I'm good right now, so I am going to,
Because now I'm eating.
I'm gonna send, and let's see, you should start getting some messages back. All right, let's see.
What's nice is if you know when all your tests are and you know you want to send out a reminder like 2 classes ahead of, the test, you can schedule those at the beginning of the year and it'll automatically send them out to you. You don't have to go in again and type it.
So if I scheduled all my macro proctors, I could go in and set up the passwords into a message to be sent and schedule those to go out the Wednesday before the test opens on
Yes,
Friday?
absolutely you could. And you would show, it would show, are any of y'all, are any of y'all getting
Not yet.
messages yet? I wonder why.
Now, how's that slacking? I'm being prepared.
I was talking to her. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're the
She says
smart
I
Was
one.
I supposed to reply help, get these follow-ups, or it says reply help for commands, is that if I want to ask you something,
You're supposed to
or?
be there and be available.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah,
Jason and Ryan. they're-
if you had some help, yeah, if you need help, you can.
But right now I'm just waiting on you.
You're waiting for my response, for my text, and I'm not getting mine either.
So if I have questions on how to do this and I get in here and I send you a message, you think I send reply?
No, it won't come to, yeah, well, try it and see. Go ahead and help if you want. I think it's gonna
Now
come
what's
from
the
them.
rest to do that?
A little concerned here.
Is it floating out in space right now?
I think we're on texting overload. Do you know that this is, just refreshing here to see? I've never had this delay before.
It says it went out
Yep, at 3:20.
There's a lot of.
It'll hit all at once.
So does this encourage students not to have to come to class,
No, it encourages them to,
except for tests?
no, because you're not gonna give them that much. These are just tidbits that you're gonna give them.
And I keep getting messages back because I'm not very bright. Sorry, you can't reply to your teacher.
Exactly.
To join a class, reply with your teacher's class code, so I didn't put Greyhound in there, so.
Okay, did everybody put Greyhound? I mean, if you all joined, did everybody get a message back?
Yeah.
Those that are up here should have gotten a message back. And let's go ahead, maybe, instead of waiting for this to head up, I'm not sure why it's not, I have a couple of bars on mine, because it's working off our cell service here. I'm gonna go up ahead and get off, no, I'm gonna get off and just go total Wi-Fi here and see if it'll go a little quicker. And see. I was on. Let's move, I bet it'll hit with us. I think what our goal is, again, this should not have that type of delay, but it does right now. You'll send it out, you're making a connection with the students. You're making a connection that maybe I care enough to remind you. Now, you're not in my classroom, you're not sitting there, but I care enough so you're not gonna fail. I'm not gonna let you fail. We all know, are we getting them? I'm hearing the beep.
They just told me that you got mine.
I just got mine.
Okay.
Oh, here's
Oh,
one.
there we go. Woo, it worked. Okay, did you get it? Did you see?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah, really it is more of a tool just to help the students to send out those reminders to say, hey,
Absolutely.
we're in this together, don't forget you have a test. I mean, they still have to come to class to take the test.
Absolutely they do.
They still have to come to class to, if I'm sending them, hey, don't forget you need to use this template to revise your paper. They still have to come to class with their paper revised that they
Right.
use the template for.
It's a communication tool, and that's a huge piece. It is a communication tool. It's not to replace face-to-face, but I really think it does make gets that little interpersonal. The key here, don't abuse it. Don't send something every day or every hour, or don't become their parents, because I'm sure they won't. That's not good. But to remind them, I think we all want a little reminder. Maybe you had a great class, or maybe you had an awesome class that day. And you just want to say something, and as corny as that may sound, that may be the one compliment that student gets that day. Maybe that, we don't know where these kids have all come from. I mean, I'd be shocked that, I hope that we all do, but they need that reinforcement as much when they're 18 to 22 as they do when they're in K-12, so.
You know, and this may not be the case here where you don't have 112 students average per class. But you know, one of those students said, and you know, most of my professors don't even know my name.
Right.
And think about it, if someone knows your name, you feel a little bit more committed to work for them, to interact with them. And it's just one way again to say, hey, I know who you are, even though you really don't. I mean, think about, you get texts from people you know. This person knows about me, they're trying to communicate. So it communicates to them, you matter. It's not saying, hey, you don't have to do anything. Actually, it's probably going to work the other way. It's going to get them to do something because, hey, that you know who I am.
Yep.
When they did it all themselves, you have no idea what their number is, or you know.
And they don't know your number. They don't know your number at all.
That is not her cell phone number.
That's not my
just
cell
a number
phone.
they generate.
It's a number they assigned when you signed up. Texting charges do apply, so you might want to tell students that in case you're on a, again, you're not going to be texting them that much, but you do want to know that does apply. I think one of the safest part on your part is you don't have their number. And they don't have your number. I think that is as a protection. You don't have to worry about that so much at this level, but in K-12, you really want, you don't want to have that conversation going on with younger students.
Can they text back to you?
Nope.
No, okay.
You know,
So one way.
I was going to say, if you want to return that, respond to that, go woohoo for dinner, Regina for dinner, you would get a text back. What did your text say that you
can't text the teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a one way. It's quick. It's easy. And we really think that it adds, and I think studies show it gets that connection.
I know just since I changed to an Apple phone and our IT department is so good that of course they update everything, but my emails don't come directly to my phone. So now my students send an email and I respond almost automatically. And of course they may begin with my number and I really don't care because they haven't abused it. But I respond right away. And that showed up on my first evaluation on my online class after I got the phone, is I like the way that she answers it so quick.
Absolutely.
And it is, because I could be out at a softball game or you could be away for the weekend and you don't get there to check that. But with them coming to my phone, if nothing else, I send them back a message that says, I cannot get to a computer right now, but I am aware of your problem and we'll get back with you as soon as possible.
I agree, and you know what else it tells them? And I can say this because I'm probably one of the older ones in the room here. It tells those kids that, okay, they're with it, they got it, they're using technology. They're not just with the, eraser, having us beat their erasers together, to clean up. That's what I did, in the 60s when I was in middle school, elementary school. I mean, that's what it was. So it gives that perception that I'm here, I'm right there up with you. I'm going with it. Please know that you can break down and have smaller groups if you want. So you can create your groups however you want. You're not limited to that. So maybe you have, maybe you're doing small groups. However you want to do it, you can add and delete at any time. So that may be easier, it may be better, maybe more targeted.
What do you mean add and delete?
You can add, it's a class. And so when you sign up, it's just right here, and I'll show you how easy it is.
Can you add students to it?
They're going to add themselves.
They have to add themselves.
They're going to add themselves. So if I hit add a class, this is how easy it is. I have my class name, I put my class code. Again, for us, that was FSCC, G-Hound, and I hit add and boom, I have a class.
Okay.
That's
on her message when she was going to send it, if she had everybody join separate classes and she wanted them to go out to all of her classes, she can add multiple classes to the message.
I'll go ahead and throw these guys
So
in.
then the students have to join all those classes if they're in more than one?
No, because it's coming from me. I'm generating it. So like the 250 USD 250, I can click and add them in. Oops, I want to get you guys back in too. Add another class. So I'm going to add you guys back in. So now I could send a message.
To all of them?
I can send a message to all of you all, but they have their own separate little deal, and I have, because that's what the great part is you can have your students create your roster, have them do it in class, so you know that everybody's there, because you can visually see that. And then the easy part, it's really pretty simple after that. It's you typing up a real quick message. Again, you're going to be limited. You can't write a story, but you're going to be limited to your characters.
But if you had all your classes in there, and had everybody signed up, if you had something happen that you weren't gonna be at school that day, you could just go in there and put all those different classes in there and say, hey, no class today,
Absolutely.
check Blackboard.
So how did Stacy get all the students to sign in?
Well, we had to do a little finagling on that because we had to send it to their email or to their phone to get it the first time.
And then they
And
signed
they,
on and returned the book?
Yep.
It is, that's awesome, and it's free.
It took us a while to figure out how to do that since we did, we had the list of students. And then I had to go into FOIS and pull the information and then we could send it out differently, so.
Maybe you have a picture that you want to send them. Maybe there's something in some experiment, or there's something that you wanted them to see, to study, something you didn't have at the time, and you took a picture of whatever you wanted to send. Now with that attachment, you can send that, so when they get it, they will have the picture of the attachment to their phone. I think it's
sometimes, if you get going and class is over and they walk out and you forgot to give them the assignment, you talked about the assignment, but you didn't get the assignment sheet or whatever handed out to them.
Right.
This would be a way to get it out to the students. So
Absolutely.
you're not just like, oh, all right, we'll have to wait until next time, it will be a time late. It's a way, if you forgot, you can send something else.
Are you saying we would do that?
Never.
I've had that feeling before.
She was looking at you, Larry.
I'm not saying you would, but I've done it.
No, never happened.
One of my friends that teaches sonography, now he does this on Facebook, but this would be a really good tool for him, is he has a, like a sonogram picture
Oh, yeah.
and says, okay, what's the problem here or what's the diagnosis? And so, he could send that out and then the students would be prepared to discuss that
The next day. Absolutely. You, again, in here, if there's a passage, maybe there's an article you've seen in the paper, you were reading, probably they weren't reading, or maybe there's a website that you were reading, you want them to go to that because you want to discuss it first thing in the morning, but you don't want to take the time for them to read it in the morning. You can copy and paste that link into here and say, read this for tomorrow. Boom. Have a good night. always do that 1 minute manager. You guys are great, here, do this, see you tomorrow. But you could do that. You could do that here. A lot of possibilities, we think, for this
So
tool.
once again, it's not something you want to overdo because
absolutely
you may have that student that doesn't have their phone and doesn't look at it till the next day. It happens, or they lose their phone, or they left it in somebody's car. So, I wouldn't always use that as a reliable tool to get them to do something, but
Be selective. Let it
I might give them a heads up, hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this later, so please be looking for a message from me or something like
Absolutely.
that. Because they may not get it.
Right, and think about your personal life. I think we probably have a life outside our jobs. And maybe this is something you can use with that too. Maybe there's some different groups that you're in, whether it's volunteer work or church groups or some other organization that you want to do. Very easy to use it here. Again, you're not passing your number, they're not giving your number, and it is free. So I think it's a great connection piece.
This is one of my favorite slides, and I pulled this out of another presentation that I do, and this is kind of how I always look at education. I went into it because I like to learn, and it truly is a journey. And a lot of the times I think when we come into professional development, we think, I've got all these tools, I know what I'm doing. But I think this is a great picture to kind of have a good discussion. If we look at learning as a journey, and this is our road. We have in front of us, we're in our car driving, out of the windshield, we have the horizon and all of the possibilities. Those are all of the things that we can continue to learn, whether that's via the internet, through our experiences, through our students, through different professional development things, through interacting with our peers. Because there are a lot of things that you guys are using, and even today, some people are struggling and you're helping each other out. We can learn a lot by looking at the road ahead of us. But please keep in mind, as we said at the very beginning, you also have that rear view mirror. And oftentimes we have to stop and we have to look at how we did learn. How we like to learn. And use some of the tools that we've always used. So it's not something today, and Tracy's, kind of made this connection several times. You don't want to go in and all of a sudden use these tools every single day, every single minute. because the kids are gonna get tired of it and it's gonna lose its effectiveness. It's just some more tools to add to your tool belt, to use to help you as you go through that journey and you continue to learn. But don't forget those things that are in that rearview mirror, because those are gonna help us to get where we wanna go as well.
Absolutely, that's good.
So we touched a little bit about this with the Remind 101, and it was in the video that we saw from K-State, is setting objectives. We all want to know why we're here, what we're going to get out of it, and what are the expectations. That's, I think, just human nature. What's going on? Why do I need to know this? Our students are the same way. Okay? Oftentimes we put a syllabus together and we'll say, hey, here's our test dates, here are our projects, here you go, go. But we need to think about, is that really setting the objectives? Do they know really what we expect from them? So I want you to talk a little bit at your table. How do you right now let your students know what your objectives or expectations are of them? Talk with those at your table. How do you share that with them?
And feel free as a group, if you want to post it on today's meet if you'd like.
You can post on today's meet if you want. But how do you let them know what your expectations are?
Our kid used
At
to
elementary, it was on.
give sent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did.
What the plan was for
Yeah, he
today?
always. When you said, well, I think, I remember you doing that.
That would be
I've done it a long time. I think maybe it was like exams that he no longer had any use for.
Right, and then of course I have objectives.
My
Correct. So what do you do? Well, I have,
That's
all
not the
of us in
baby,
the
right?
lessons,
Right.
grades, like,
And that's what.
some positions, and, so I try to explain it.
Right, right.
One, black reports.
Rubric, yeah, rubric's good, rubric's good, right?
Where do you create your own rubrics?
I do, yeah. Well, black reports is a general rubric
Mhm, yeah.
that is
Yeah.
somewhat flexible, so I can use it.
But Robert, when I've been in your room, the very first slide has the objective for the day.
Yeah, I do that.
It has the
I
objective
have
for the
it
lesson.
Okay. And you use 6 traits?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I live and die by 6 grades. Ideally, I should maybe come up with a rubric for each standard assignment that I use for a while. Seen that employed a lot. I learned that in one of these kind of workshops a long time ago. Now we're supposed to present a fair review of each writing assignment
It's cookie
that
time.
we use and these are what our expectations are.
Have you ever gone on to, and we won't get to it today, but Rubistar? Because I know there's all kinds of 6 trait rubrics there, so they're
No, I
already
haven't.
created.
No, ooh, okay. That's gonna be like, one
It's
of the-
free too.
It's free too.
Okay, well, that's,
So-
I will be ready to.
Yeah, yeah, so they're already created, they have by other teachers of all different levels, and you can even go in and change and tweak what they've done, so that way you don't have to create it. Yeah, oh, they're for all disciplines. Rubistar.com.
But that's kind of neat, you say though, they do have it where it's like 6 traits